over the last period of time to increase ties and build on them, these ties that have always seen strategic partnerships to reach joint advantages, and this is a result of mutual agreement of regional and international causes of mutual concern. Our talks today witnessed agreement of elevating Egyptian-Vietnamese ties to strategic partnership, which will be built on mutual cooperation in several sectors, specifically agriculture, trade and investment, and industry, depending on both the governments and private sectors of the two countries, which will allow economic development and societal development for the two nations. Also today, we witnessed a memorandum of understanding signed between the two countries in several areas, and our vision has been unified with regards to areas for further development and the need to further them in different sectors, specifically in the economic sector. This will allow the development of our nations and our peoples, as Egypt can be a great window for Vietnam to the Middle East as a result of its great relationship and with different countries and the free trade agreements with different countries. Similarly, with Vietnam, that can allow Egypt to access the Asian continent. And during our discussions today, we discussed the need to further our partnership and strategic partnership and trade exchange between the two countries, as well as allow for the growth of trade ties, specifically in infrastructural development, technological advancements, digitalization, as well as other areas like fisheries, industries, clothing sector, fertilizers, electronics, chemicals, renewable energy, as well as electric vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, alongside these economic ties, our talks also touched on the need to further cultural exchange and societal exchange between the two countries, and we also agreed on local development agreements between the two countries, and also cultural exchange programs as we further elaborate on tourism ties between the two countries as a result of our partnership deal in this area. Specifically also in the education sector, we are discussing educational scholarships as well as Al-Azhar scholars that are offered by Egypt. Also, our talks discussed the issues in the Middle East and Egyptian efforts to de-escalate the attacks in the situation and the support of the Palestinian people and the right to self-determination and the right to this Palestinian statehood with East Jerusalem as its capital according to the borders of 1967. Also, allow me in this issue to discuss the Rafah borders. I must be clear. The war in Gaza is no longer a political war or even to release hostages, but now it has surpassed this for a long time, truly. It has no longer any meaning and has now become a starvation war and the dissolution of the Palestinian cause and a genocide war. And this is not just the Egyptian opinion, but this is the general opinion all over the world. The lives of the Palestinians in Gaza are now being used as a political card, and humanity is not able to intervene, just watching what is happening, what has happened over the last few weeks and months regarding the Egyptian role in delivering humanitarian aid. I have spoken about this several times, and so has the media, but I will further elaborate on this issue. The Gaza Strip is connected to the outside world by 5 borders. One of them is the Rafah border crossing with Egypt. The Rafah border crossing has never been closed, even before the war and during the war. Secondly, during the last few years, over the last 20 years even, the role of Egypt has always been to de-escalate the situation in Gaza and calming of the situation between Israel and the Palestinians, as we always were aware that any military action would destroy not just the area but the region as a whole. And we have been doing this over the last few years, and this has not stopped in this last war. This is the 5th war that Egypt has stood in solidarity and in a positive role to de-escalate the situation. This is the 5th time. This is our 5th time that I'm talking about. Today, as we are playing this very important role and these efforts, we are always trying to have a positive role, a peaceful role in any conflict in the region in one way or another. With regards to the Gaza Strip, since the 7th of October, we've been playing this role. We are trying to de-escalate, trying to reach a ceasefire, trying to get humanitarian aid to the people that need it, as well as the release of hostages. And this role has not stopped or ended. However, during the last few weeks, I found that there seems to be some sort of apologies to say this, but I've seen lies being disseminated saying that humanitarian aid is not getting through because Egypt is stopping it, and this is absolutely the furthest thing from the truth. The borders with Egypt have never been closed, even though they've been destroyed 4 times in the last 22 months, and we've been fixing it until the Israeli forces have even reached the Rafah border crossing on the Palestinian side. Half of the border is in the Egyptian side and the other half in the Palestinian side. The borders were always open and could have delivered the humanitarian aid if the Israeli military was not on the other side of the Rafah border crossing in Palestine. This is the issue. And when we talk about this and work towards this, and with our collaboration with the United States, and we've talked to them about this, is to stop the war and get humanitarian aid across and release hostages. Our role has never ended. But today, as I'm speaking to you, and over the last few months, we've seen over 5,000 trucks on Egyptian land waiting to cross. And I'm asking our media outlets to shed more light on this issue and provide coverage for this issue. Over 5,000 trucks are waiting, whether Egyptian convoys or other international aid convoys that are here in Egypt waiting to cross. And I'm telling you that over 70% of the aid has been provided by Egypt over the last 22 or 23 months. But this is not the issue now. The issue now is to get as much aid across the borders as possible, as we are seeing this genocide war and seeing the starvation and famine in the Gaza Strip. We are seeing this dissolution of the Palestinian cause. And I've called for this before, and I've called on the international community and on Europeans and to the US president as well. And every time I will continue to call for this, the need for humanitarian aid to get across the borders from the Palestinian side of the border. Before this, we had over 500 trucks crossing from the Egyptian side for the over 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza. Imagine now this amount has been decreased to 0 trucks over the last 21 months or so. This is the situation now in the Gaza Strip, and this is a result of this is the starvation we're seeing. But this is not Egypt's fault, because Egypt has never stopped with its aid, never stopped with its assistance and efforts. The whole world needs to know this. This is unacceptable. This is not truthful and not acceptable. We are more than willing to even double and triple the aid convoys to support the Palestinians, and we are calling once, twice, 3 times, and every day, and continue to call for the end of this genocide war. Once again, I would just like to add to say that everyone that is listening to us, I can see that history will really pause and stop and judge many, many people and many nations all around the world as a result of how they've reacted to this world. With regards to our humanity and our conscience, it can never be silent. It will never be silent. Egypt will always be a windowway and doorway, and to get aid across, and Egypt will never be a tool used to relocate the Palestinians and remove them off their land. We will always support them, but we will never allow for the relocation of their land. There are others who have other hidden agendas, which is to dissolve the Palestinian cause, and I have warned against this several times. Once again, in light of this, I would like to thank the Vietnamese position with regards to their support of the Palestinians and the Palestinian people, and their rejection of the relocation of the Palestinians off their land, and their call to reach a political resolution to this crisis in order to reach security and stability in the region. Your Excellency, Mr. President, once again, I'd like to welcome you in your second country, Egypt, hoping that your visit is successful and a way to further establish ties and relations between our 2 countries, wishing you and the Vietnamese people all the best and all the success under your leadership. Thank you very much. And now I give over my word to you, sir. Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen and members of the media, I would like to thank you and thank Mr. President, the President of Egypt, the Arab Republic of Egypt, and the Egyptian people for their wonderful reception and hospitality. I am very happy to be visiting Egypt, the nation that was visited by our leader over 3 times, Ho Chi Minh. We have spoken and agreed on several issues. Myself and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi discussed the need to elevate our ties to strategic partnership and further enrich ties between Egypt and Vietnam, as well as politically and in several fields, also to collaborate in several fields, specifically in cultural, industrial, technological, educational, and trade exchange, as this is the most important in our strategic bilateral ties. With regards to the political sphere, we have agreed on the continued friendship between the two countries and support of each other to develop and allow for the development of the countries and the peoples of the two nations. And we've also agreed on our continued consultations on high levels and partnerships and collaboration, as well as the establishment of committees in several fields. For example, in economic fields, we have agreed on more collaboration, and we have agreed on the need to increase trade exchange, aiming for over $1 billion in the near future. And in light of this, we've also agreed on developing an agricultural market between the two countries. And we also discussed the need for further exchange of investment opportunities and the provision of assistance for companies from the two countries in order for them to establish industries in several fields like industry, technology. And with regards to collaboration between the two countries, we have agreed to further continue consultations on regional and international issues. And we also discussed regional issues and held consultations over international causes of mutual concern and the need for a peaceful resolution to conflicts in the region according to international laws. And Vietnam truly appreciates the role of Egypt in the Palestinian cause and its steadfast position with the two-state solution, and we support the establishment of an independent Palestinian state on the borders of 1967 with East Jerusalem as its capital, in accordance with international law and UN resolutions. And with regards to other areas of collaboration, we discussed need to increase collaboration in new fields according to the needs of each country. For example, science and technology, research and development, as well as tourism and cultural exchanges. And on this day, the Vietnamese side has asked the Egyptian side to continue support to Vietnamese companies in Egypt. Once again, we welcome the signing of agreements in defense as well as peaceful resolution and international relations, and the relevant ministries must collaborate in these agreements that have been signed today and in the agreements that have been agreed today between myself and Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for our mutual development. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi meets with world leaders.
أعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي